Something's supposed to happen?
Yeah, just in one moment. So I'm going to turn on the recording. Someone asked to um, shut off AI for the recording. That's my notes session. Okay. That helps me when we move forward. Hi, everybody. I'm Linda Brubaker, and this is Career Search Lunch and Learn. I am a career transition specialist, a strategist. My role is to help you determine what you really want to do, how you want to position yourself, where you want to end up, so that you find that next forever role, whether it's a new job, a new career, or something entirely different. I'm a career coach, as I mentioned, and I've been doing this now for the last 9 years. Before that, I had over 30 years of experience in human resources as a hiring manager, an HR business partner, a recruiter, a talent acquisition manager, and an outside executive search consultant. The information that I bring you, that we all bring, is based not only on what we learn from you, and we learn from you every day, it's also based on that experience. It's based on the research that we're constantly doing to make sure that we have the up-to-date information, things that are actually working, to give you information that you can put into use right away. It's based on the conversations that I continually have, or we continually have with our colleagues, the people who are doing the work, the recruiting work, and the hiring work within organizations. We want to make sure that the advice we give you is the right advice. That's the end of my pitch. I'm going to put my information in the chat. Kerry, I'll let you introduce yourself later, but in the meantime, Ken, would you like to introduce yourself? Ken is always here to support us,
Sure.
and I love it.
Hi, I'm Kenneth Lang here, Northern New Jersey. One of the things I wanted to share today, and I just did this before, and I see a few people have as well, is don't just put your name there, put where you're from, and put something about yourself under your name so it's a good tagging opportunity. I just got off a call. I used to work at Leah Harrison. I was invited back to talk about job search scams, and I found another one. Another person told me about it. They got a scam from a company that said that if you paid them money, you would get further up in the ATS system. And I had never heard of that before. So it kind of got me worried. And I've also been using AI to post, to ask questions about certain people, quote unquote, and if they are real or not. And that's been very helpful too, because it shows that you're not the only one who's having that issue. So I'm here to support all of you. Carrie, I can't wait to hear your presentation. I put my LinkedIn URL in the chat. I think a couple of you have actually asked to connect with me. I will get back to you on that later on today. Thanks again, Linda, for this great group.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us, Ken. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start. First, I'm going to say hi to people. I started trying to do that. But when I do, because we're, again, this networking group, and we've got a lot of people in the room, wave at us when you hear your name. Let us help connect you. And I'm going to try and do this quickly. So I see Kerry and Ken, excuse me, Al, Alexandra, Amy, Andrew, Antony, sorry if I pronounce it wrong, Antonella, Audrey, Belle, Karina, Carolyn, Carl, Charles, Daniel, David, three Davids in the room today, Dominique, Ellen, Irina, Jim, Jody, Joey, John, two Johns, Juliet, Karen, Kim, Logan, Lorena, Marilyn, Mary, Marianne, Maureen, Michael, at Michael W, Mitch, Nancy, Pam, Richard, Rosalind, Scott, Sue, Susan, TJ, Tony, Vic, and Vicky. I'm sorry if I missed anybody or if I mispronounced your name, but we're really glad that you're here, even though we know that this is not where you want to be. What we're going to do, if you've been in these rooms before, you know that we usually start by sharing a quick win. And because we have a speaker, we'd like to limit that quick win session to about 15 minutes so that we can get going right away. if you've had a quick win, and you know if you've been in this room before, quick win doesn't necessarily mean you've got a job, but if you have, yay! Sue is in here today, so I'm raising my hand as a virtual pom-pom. If you've gotten a job, that's fantastic. If you've gotten an interview, fantastic. Share it with us. Tell us how that happened. If you've had, you reached out to somebody new, you've got a new connection, you tried something that worked or didn't work, we want to know that too. Because trying something new is a win in our book, even if it doesn't work out the way that you hoped that it would. So I'm going to bring you up on screen, and if you've got something to share, please raise your virtual hand so that I can do this. And please go ahead and talk in the order in which you see yourself on screen. So Pam, that means you start.
Hi there. To celebrate my 3-year unemployment anniversary, I had an interview. Um, I applied through Glassdoor. It's a small company, not too far from where I live. Completely not the kind of job I've been looking for, but there comes a point where you have to feed yourself.
Mhm.
And so I'm in the I'll take most anything position now.
You'll learn from anything.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's not like this isn't something that I have the skills for. It's just not what I was looking for. And the sad thing is if this comes to fruition, and I'll know if I get a second interview this week, um, it's half of what I was making. And that is sadly the reality of these days, I think. We just
Unfortunately, my correct crystal ball says that you're right. I'm seeing salaries at lower levels in many cases. And
dramatic.
people, and underemployment is growing, as well as those contract roles.
Yeah.
One of the things that I want you to remember is that this isn't that if you get this second interview, it's that boost to your ego, right? That confidence level, but keep looking for the job you really want, even when
Absolutely.
you take that new role.
I have still applied to jobs, even though I had an interview Friday. I applied to 2 or 3 more this week. Um, it is a very small company, and I think that's actually a really good kind of fit for me, is to be in a 20 and under
Mhm.
company. And they are very close. They're right up. They're right, like,
Excellent. And the
yeah,
smaller companies are the ones that are really doing some of that hiring.
that's what I think is happening, is
Yep.
because they have real people who are reading real resumes, and the interview was good, and she did say, so I noticed that your name on your resume is not the same as your name on your LinkedIn profile. I went, yeah, because I changed my name. And so LinkedIn is like the last thing that I'm going to change because it impacts so many other things. So
So you wanted to add the maiden name in there?
So I legally changed my name back to my birth name. I was never a maiden.
Okay,
Um,
that's okay.
back to my birth name, but most people know me as Lefkowitz, but I am now I'm now back to Dertiger the way I was when I was a kid. Yeah, and it's fine. I haven't changed LinkedIn yet. It is I've got almost everything else done. It is a process. If anybody needs to go through it, I'm happy to help. Um, it is quite a process.
Yeah.
Not even the legal part of it, just the how to change things in the places you need to change it.
Yep.
But I feel much more me.
Excellent.
So yeah, so we'll see what happens. She did commit to calling me either way.
Good. Nice to know. And small companies usually will do that, which is great. Keep
Yes,
us posted, Pam.
absolutely.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Vicky.
Hi, I had the interview with Society of Actuaries a couple weeks ago. It was a virtual interview, and I just got a note uh, from the HR person that that he has to talk with the hiring manager this week on Thursday, and so he'll let me know as to whether or not I'm going to have the in-person interview at that time. However, I also had another interview, this time with the law firm, that was by phone with an HR person, and very soon after that ended, I got an email saying that I was chosen for an in-person interview this Friday.
Wonderful.
So I am getting some traction with my interviews now, so that which is really really something really positive, and so I'm
Absolutely.
just
So
hopefully that I'll get something between these two openings.
absolutely. Keep us posted and let us know how we can help. How did you find those two jobs, Vicky?
The Society of Actuaries, I found there from a contact, and there he had reached out to me and said, I think you might be a good fit for this job. And uh, well, actually, he didn't really have the job, but he volunteered for them, and he thought it was a really positive organization, and so he suggested that I can keep an eye on their website, and so I found a job on their list on there that I thought I might be a good fit for that, and
Okay.
so I applied for that.
So you applied directly
And
after he suggested you keep an eye on the company.
yes,
Okay.
yes. And let's see, the law firm, I think I found that through a job board. It was probably Indeed, or I think it was Indeed. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for telling us and good luck.
Okay, sure. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Antonella.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Well, I was contacted in LinkedIn like 3 weeks ago, like that I would be a good fit for a position, and I got the interview with the person. The interview went well, and she said that she will need for me schedule an appointment with a colleague. But 2 weeks passed, and then I contact like just not asking or complaining, but saying that I am interested. And I got off like asked if I would be open for 1099, which what I said yes. And then she scheduled the interview next day with her colleague. The interview was last Thursday, and I guess it went pretty well. And the next day, or that same day at almost late at night, I got an email asking me to interview with the founder for Friday,
Nice.
which was the next day. And yeah, of course, I went to the interview. I guess it was good, but they need somebody to start as soon as possible. And he told me that they will be taking the decision or making the decision by Monday, but Monday was 2 days ago, and I haven't received any communication. So now I am here like checking my emails every 2 seconds to see something happen, but I don't know if reach out again or just keep looking.
You always keep looking until you've actually started. In fact,
No,
might be a
like
mistake.
keep looking the email to see if an answer or if I should call them and ask what happened or
Okay,
if
no, I would not call. And I would not ask what happened. But you can send an email. Not,
Mhm.
I haven't heard from you. Not you said you'd call. Where are we? But I'm really excited about the opportunity to work with you. I'm looking forward to our next conversation. The best way to reach me is, and then put in your email or your phone number, be done.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
you're welcome. Good luck. Keep us posted.
Yeah, and as I said at the beginning, I was contacted in LinkedIn. So.
You were contacted from LinkedIn. Perfect.
Mhm.
Thank you. Marilyn.
So a few things I think I mentioned last time I was here, I missed last week, but that I had an interview with the company. I ended up interviewing with the hiring manager. She had a very short period of time because she was late to the interview, so we scheduled a follow-up. And after that, I got asked for my availability for the next interview. So it looks like I'm moving along to that next one. And that was a position that I found from through Welcome to the Jungle. If you haven't looked at that, it's a really interesting website, mostly for jobs in startups.
Okay.
So highly recommend Welcome to the Jungle. I found a couple of good leads there. And the second thing is that I applied for a position at a company where I've applied to a number of positions and gotten turned down, and I'm just like perfect for these. And I found a former colleague who works there. And so she was able to find me more information, and she actually got some feedback from the manager for this latest position that I got turned down from. And it's very actionable and interesting feedback regarding my portfolio site. So I'm working on updating my portfolio, but it was such a joy to get actual feedback as to why they said no. So that was great. And I'm working on that. And then the other thing that I'm doing is I'm pursuing fractional work consulting for startups, doing user experience design leadership and organization. I just decided to try that. I have a friend who coaches it, and so I'm working with her, and I've gotten some good leads. And I have several discussions coming up with people who work for like VC firms or private equity firms who invest in these companies. So who knows, maybe I'll just do part-time work for several companies. That'll work out fine for me. So
That's
I'm
one of
glad.
the things.
And
I find a lot of people
that's
are
all,
doing.
those leads are all through LinkedIn contacts
That's
and
fantastic.
and people I worked with previously.
Always be networking. Always maintain those contacts and reach out to them. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Congratulations. Keep us posted.
Yeah.
Fractional
thanks.
work, by the way, is growing. That's where you string together contracts in effect or part-time work at several different companies. And it works very well for a lot of people. Okay, Mark. Excuse me, do I have that?
I think
Mitch.
Mitch.
Mitch, I apologize.
No problem. This is my first time on the call. Thanks for having me on. I
Absolutely,
appreciate it.
welcome.
Thank you very much. I had an HR interview with a financial services company yesterday, and I got that. I had seen the position posted on LinkedIn, but I also knew someone there. And what she did, she didn't know the hiring manager or team, but she referred me, and she also wrote a note to the hiring manager as well. So once that happened, I saw the application status change to referral received, which I usually don't see that in an application status. That was the first time I've seen that. And then it changed to in progress, and then the next day they arranged for an HR screening. So now I'm waiting to see if that moves forward to the hiring manager. And then I saw another position posted that's outside of my financial services background. But the hiring manager, they're looking for a project manager in a different industry. And I knew the hiring manager from networking, and she looked at my profile and she told me to apply for it. And because she said she's building a team, she's a one-person team right now, and she needs help. So I'm waiting for her for that to move forward as well. So that's a
Excellent,
track.
congratulations.
Oh, thanks. I'm hoping both of these things will move forward.
Keep us posted.
Thank you.
Alan.
Everyone, good morning. I had a screening interview last week, Friday. So, and part of it was because I had kind of networked my way into this position. The job wasn't posted. I knew about a small college that was in my area, went to an open house they had, spoke to the dean. We had a call. Then she said, "Hey, you know what? We need someone like you." So she said, "I think there's a job that's going to open up soon." So she sent me the actual posting after it was posted. And then I think part of that reason that I got the screening interview happened on Friday. It was one of those typical screening interview, nothing too difficult, but I thought it went well. So I'm just waiting to hear back. So yeah.
Congratulations. Always be networking. Always be looking, always reach out to all of your contacts, which is another reminder to you guys. If we are connected, if you are connected to somebody, check to see whether they're connected to somebody at the organization you want to be part of. We're happy, most of us are happy to make those introductions. Okay. You can take it from there, but we'll give you the names. And I'm amazed. I make this offer every week. I make it in conversations with people every day. And I can tell you that I have had one person reach out to me in the last 5 weeks. You're missing an opportunity, folks. It's available. When I ask for it, I'm going to need it. Okay. Thank you all for sharing the quick wins and for all that information. Remember, the chat is already very lively. Let's keep it going. Make sure that as you're coming up with ideas that you think you work, especially as we get into the meat of our presentation today, that you're sharing those in the chat so that you remember them and we do too. Kerry, I want to welcome you to Lunch and Learn. Thank you so much for doing this. You've been here in the background several times, but we're really excited to be able to share your expertise in this whole area of interviewing. You know how important it is to be able to go from getting that interview to getting that offer, and we're looking forward to the steps. All yours.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for the kind welcome, Linda. And if you guys are regulars to Linda's group, most of you may have seen my name. I am here quite a bit. I come to support Linda, and Linda and Ken and Sue, they're my colleagues. And so that's part of when you think about networking, that's what that's all about. And so we're kind of a good example of what that is. And I'm here to support all of you as well. It's a tough market out there. The more minds we bring together, the best. And thank you, Linda, for providing such an incredible platform for people to come to and learn and grow and look at all the amazing people. Look at all the amazing people that are having interviews. And so that's really a great testament, Linda, to all the great work that you do for everyone. So thank you for inviting me today.
Thank you for
So
joining.
my name is, yeah, absolutely. And so my name is Kerry Bryson, and I am the founder and expert career positioning strategist, LinkedIn trainer, speaker at Aligned to Success. But here's the crazy thing. I've actually been in your shoes, and it was 2020 and I was laid off from a position that I absolutely loved. It was a startup company in California. I loved my team. I loved my people. I loved what we were building. What the company was building. I was actually building and creating the entire teams from scratch, from nothing, and building a site in Southern California, which was really exciting. And you know that feeling where I've been there. To have that feeling of your heart is in your stomach, right? And you're just thinking, okay, what is wrong with me, right? The self-doubt, starts to come in. And I remember it like it was yesterday because it's such a powerful thing, right? And I allowed myself, but probably at about a week, to really kind of take it all in. So I highly recommend people do that because you need that time to think about it. And so this is what I came up with too, was simply this. I loved everything that I did. And I knew in every company that I've ever worked for, I knew that if we hired you, we were going to change your life because we were going to give you an opportunity to be part of an amazing group, right? And so as I'm sitting there thinking, listen, I have 30 plus years experience working in corporate America, working with startups, working with established organizations, and building recruitment strategies from the ground up. Majority of the companies that I've worked with, they had nothing. And building the teams and implementing the applicant tracking system on both sides of the desk. And so I loved doing that. And that was so satisfying to me to know that I was changing people's lives. And so I thought to myself, well, I need to continue to be able to do this. And listen, I've personally hired thousands of people. I have looked at hundreds of thousands of resumes and partnered with over 500 plus hiring managers. So really great insight on both sides of the desk to understand what those things look like. And so I knew that I could help job seekers. And so that's why I started my business. So here's the other takeaway. As much as I loved that company and it was really great, I love the people. So one door closes, another door opens. I think we've all heard that. And on the other side, I'm more fulfilled today than I have ever been in my entire career. And so that is just something to think about. And as you're going through your journey as well, but just know that I've been there. And so what you're going through, I totally understand that as well. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And get going here. Can you guys see my screen? Can you see it okay, Linda?
Yes.
Okay.
Although I see something behind it that says Zoom. There we go. You got it. Perfect.
Okay. I know sometimes there's a little bit of a delay, so I just want to make sure. Okay, great. You can see it? Okay, good. Perfect. So I want you to think about it. Think about this. you're going to a wedding, you get in your car, you didn't put the address into your GPS because you thought, I know where I'm going, right? And what actually ended up happening is that you drove around aimlessly. You might and maybe got lost because you were unsure where you were going for sure. You probably wasted gas, you probably wasted a lot of time, and you ended up actually being 30 to 40 minutes late because you didn't have a clear direction on where you were going, right? And that is exactly what happens when we walk into an interview and we're unprepared to talk about ourselves. And technically, you're moving forward because you got the interview. So that's a really good point, right? But if you can't actually articulate who you are, what you do, and the value that you bring, it's not going to help you move forward. And by the way, you are expected to do that in an interview. I have disqualified so many people. If you cannot do it, you will get overlooked. And every single hiring manager that I've ever worked with thought the exact same thing. So that's why this is so important. So now imagine the opposite. You get in your car, you check the route to the wedding, right? You fueled up, you know the twists and turns, you know where you're going. You arrive 10 minutes early to the wedding. So you made it there on time. But here's what happened. You drive with confidence, right? Because you're in control and you know where you're going and you know what you're doing, right? That's what interview preparation is all about. And so today I'm going to walk you through a roadmap on to help you actually stand out and win, whether it's, crafting your stories or doing the research, or how do you actually connect to an interviewer? We're going to talk about all of those things, okay? I always like to start my presentations with a quote, and I am guessing a lot of people may have heard of this one, but it's so appropriate for what we're talking about today, right? So by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail, by Benjamin Franklin. And when it comes to interviews, that is absolutely correct. If you do not prepare, you're setting yourself up for failure, right? And listen, we all take the time to update our resumes and optimize our LinkedIn profiles. And listen, those things are really important. Those are part of your strategy. You have to do those things. But you could have all of those could be just amazing. But if you can't actually articulate and go into an interview and tell them and share those pieces and share that value, you're absolutely going to be missing the whole, you will absolutely not, they won't see the value, right? And so again, you can have the best tools. If you can't talk about it, it's not going to help you. Let me ask you a question. How many times have you guys gone and left an interview and thought to yourselves, I wish I would have answered that differently? Anybody done that? Just put a me in the chat if you've done that before. I know I have, right? Or maybe you thought, I actually know if you thought to yourself, I don't even know if I actually answered that question correctly. That happens too, right? And listen, I mean, I think that we've all been there, and it's not because we're not qualified and we don't have the expertise. It's because we were never fully prepared to go in and tell our story. Okay, we talked about me. Obviously, I put in the chat on how you can connect with me. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. So please feel free to do that. So this slide is in here for a quick reason, because the pieces that I talk about, and obviously the interview piece is really important. This is actually my career positioning framework that I use with my clients. And there's a reason that the pieces are really important here. The positioning piece is simply this. This is where we actually clarify and define what is your value that you bring to a business? What is the impact that you've had in your organizations? What is it that you've done that has made a difference? Think of it this way. Think of positioning as this. When you build a house, if you have a foundation that is poor and crumbling, the rest of that building is going to fall. So that is the exact same thing when I talk about positioning. Here's the other thing that I see is that people don't really know how to talk about themselves. They don't know how to articulate what they've done, and they are incredibly experienced. They have incredible backgrounds. They just can't quite put it on paper. So the positioning piece is the foundation, which you need to figure those pieces out. The visibility, yeah, that is, yes, the tools, your LinkedIn, your resume. We have to make sure that those are optimized. The relationship pieces, now we all know, and I know Linda and the group talk about this a lot, is that the majority, you're more likely to find that next opportunity by having a really great conversation with someone. And so that's the relationship part. And we're actually going to talk a little bit more in depth about the interview piece so that when you're absolutely optimized and ready to do that, you're going to be successful, right? Together, these create job offers. Here's the thing. If one of these pieces is missing in that framework, that's when things begin to fall. So we're going to talk a little bit about today. We'll talk about how to prepare for the interview. And some of you, if you guys are following me already or heard me talk, how to actually build your stories based on our CART formula that I created. Actually, CAR is out there. I just added the T. How to differentiate yourself, right? We know that this is a crazy market, and anything that we can do to help set you apart, that's going to be really good. It's going to make you stand out, right? And then kind of understanding what employers are actually evaluating also does give you a leg up and helps you be able to prepare better as well. So let's jump into this. So anybody that knows me, anyone that's had any type of conversation with me, this is something I say all the time. That's why it has its own slide. When you show you're the solution to what they need, they will want to hire you, right? And listen, interview success is not about luck. I never walk into an interview and just wing it. You will set yourself up to fail and put yourself in the wrong light. And we never want to have you do that, right? And so that's definitely something you don't want to do, right? So I kind of want you to also change your mindset when you think about interviews. It may help you also when you prepare. Here's what I want you to think about. As much as interviewing is about you, because it's about your skills, it's about your expertise, it's about the value, it's about your impact. It is actually more about them than it is about you. And it is your job to make sure that you're linking and you're filling the gap and sharing with them how you actually can help them fit their needs and what they're looking for. People say, well, Kerry, they have my resume. Yes, they certainly do. In most cases, it probably is sitting right in front of them, but they are not going to connect the dots. They are not going to figure that out. You have to be able to tell them exactly what that is, okay? If you don't master this is what's going to keep you held back and could really impact your ability to land that offer. Okay. So I did say, research is definitely that's the first step of preparation, right? And think of it as your fuel, right? And review the companies on LinkedIn, right? Go to the profiles of the people that you're interviewing with. And listen, most cases you have the names. Listen, I also know sometimes you don't. If you have the people's names, go look them out individually as well. And so, yeah, high level. I mean, I think people know to definitely make sure you know what the company does, who are their clients, where are they located, who is the CEO. Those are high level pieces. But I really want you to dig further, okay? I want you to go on their company page, note major projects, successes, recent events that they've talked about, and educate yourself on what it is that they're doing, right? Because that's going to help you be able to have a conversation. And even in the situations where maybe there's a surprise and maybe you didn't expect something to happen in an interview, if you actually are educated on what the company does and what they do, that's actually going to help you be able to have a conversation regardless of who you're talking to. So that's important. The other thing I want you to do when you're looking at the interviewers' profiles, see if there's something you have in common with them. Go to their about section. Maybe they put in there something they like to do outside of work. Maybe they like to fly fish or they like to go to concerts or whatever, and you have that in common. That is something that you can actually use as an opener in your interview to do like a special connection. Let me give you an example. So say you're going to a party with family and friends and you're meeting new people, right? You go to the party, you're talking to a person, you realize that you both were born and raised in the exact same city and town, city and state, which by the way, you both don't live there now, but because you both have moved on, but you actually lived in the same area. So this is what's going to happen. You're going to go home and the first thing you're going to talk about is, hey, listen, you remember that person? I can't believe that person was born and raised in the same place I was. Just that tiny little bit of connection makes you memorable and it makes people think about you. That's what we want to be able to do. Okay. The other thing I would do, go to their company, go to their websites, look at their career pages, look at their mission, look at their vision, look at their values. Again, there's a lot that relates to you. And if something that actually, you're passionate about, you can actually talk about that as well. And so having those connections and researching and understanding the organization, again, is going to give you things that you can actually talk about that will help set you apart. Okay. And here's another really, really important thing. So remember how I said you need to be able to connect the dots. You need to be able to show them how you are the solution to what they need, okay? So this is what I want you to do. I want you to literally take the job description, put it into a document, go through and break down what the requirements are. What is it that they need this position to do? And then I want you to fill in, put in five spaces in between each of them, and go in and start and think about your history, think about your stories, think about the impact that you've made in organizations. And I want you to connect that just right in there, just put in there, right in there what exactly that is. And let me tell you why this is important. When you can create your stories in your interview that relate to what it is they need this person to do, they're going to start to think, wow, I can see that this person can help me with what I need, right? And it also gives you a guide on what you should be talking about during your interviews, okay? And when you can connect that with them, here, let me give you a quick example of this. I was interviewing, this was many, many years ago, 20 plus years ago. I was interviewing and I was talking to the VP of sales and marketing. He was going to be my manager. And he basically was telling me, okay, here are my goals and this is what I want to do. And so I literally said in the interview with him, I said, okay, what if I could take A, B, and C off your plate so that you can focus on EFG and take the time to do and focus on what's most important for the business. And we can get there together much quicker. Okay, listen, I lived 30 minutes from the office at the time. He was literally calling me before I got home to offer me the job. I literally said, let me take this from you and we can get there quicker. Okay, that's huge. And it's worked. Actually, I've done that many times, but that's what I'm talking about. That's the power, right? And then once you've put in, okay, this is a story that I want to talk about, then actually go and use your cart format to help you articulate those pieces so that you actually are sharing the right information and the value and the impact in the proper way. Okay. So you're thinking, okay, what in the world is a cart? What is a cart format, right? Listen, we've all heard of different types of formats, and I think they're all relevant. There's star, there's car, there's several other out there. And so I added the T. I liked the car format, and then I added the T. And let me explain what that is. So of course, C is challenge, right? What was the specific problem? A is action. What did you specifically do? And here's the thing about that part is that a lot of time we collaborate with other people in our organization, which is fine. And you can say I had to collaborate with sales and marketing. That's it. You don't need to go into what they did because they don't care what they did. They only care about what you did, right? The result, what changed because of your actions, because of what you did, what made the difference. And here's the T. Here's the piece that people miss is tie it back to how that outcome can actually help the company that you're talking with. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is going on and on and on and rambling. They do not want to know your entire life history. Okay. They want it. And this is actually, like, for example, if they say to you, tell me about yourself, they really just want quick opening and understanding of what your background is by using this type of format that will help you be able to make sure that you're focused and that you can actually create the words that are going to be most important to them as well. And actually, of course, I post about this a lot on LinkedIn, and I've literally had people reach out to me, like in Canada, and say, Kerry, this is one of the most comprehensive I've seen. And it's only because of that tie back piece that makes such a difference. And if you miss that piece, they could miss that. That's how you tell them why you're the best fit for them, right? Okay, so I'm a visual person. And so I'm like, I'm gonna have an example here. I like to see, it just makes more sense, right? When you can actually see an example. So we have the 3 categories here, right? So this is kind of what it could sound like if you were answering a question. This is like a project manager position. So this is what it could be. My team was facing a tight deadline to deliver a critical client project with several priorities competing for attention. I introduced daily stand-ups to clarify priorities, remove roadblocks, and keep everyone aligned. I also implemented Asana to improve communication and accountability. It's a great program. We delivered the project 2 days early and improved team productivity by 15%, exceeding the client's expectations. That experience reflects how I lead under pressure. I create clarity, keep teams focused, and remove obstacles so we can deliver results. And I would bring that same approach to this role and to, you know, what pieces are most important to you. So you can see that at the end, actually tying it back to how it can actually impact the organization is going to make it, it's actually going to make a really big difference for you. So we kind of talked a little bit about this. So why the CART method works. Again, it provides a structure. Again, as I mentioned, and every client that I've ever had, again, brilliant people, they do not know how to articulate what they do, and they can't let alone put it on paper. It's difficult to even talk about themselves. We're also humble, like people. We feel like, you know, we feel like it's weird if we're bragging, and it makes us feel uncomfortable. And that's not, and here's another way I want you to think about that. Don't think of it as bragging. If you're talking about impact that you created in a business, it is factual. So it's not bragging, it's just you sharing how you've actually been able to make a difference for your organization. So I kind of want you to think about it that way, okay? Gives clarity. When you have a format to help you create what those words should be, it makes it so that you can focus on the most important pieces, right? And that's important, and that clarity will come through as you're sharing that, right? It delivers impact. You can see in the example, we literally shared specific data numbers, which, listen, it doesn't know, you don't always have that, right? It's not necessarily a percentage. It could also be that, you know, you changed a process, you saved time in the plant or whatever it was, right? You can talk about those things. You're actually delivering the impact, which is what they want to see. And then it also helps you to really connect the dots and proves exactly why you are the best fit, because this is what they're evaluating. If I'm a recruiter and I'm a hiring manager, this is what they're asking. In every single thing that you're doing, they're going to look at you and say, okay, well, why is Mitch different than the 5 people I've already talked to? Okay. Number 2, do I envision Mitch being part of my current team? Can I see him actually functioning and collaborating with the people that I already have? The third thing they're looking at is, can I see this person as someone who can help me meet and with the problems that I'm trying to solve in my organization? And that's why that is so important, to actually connect the dots for them, right? And so here's the other thing I will say. So those are the things that are most important to them. Here's what I would say. You're going to create your story. It's not about memorizing. I think that's I think that, you know, there's lots of information out there, and it's not about memorizing. Listen, you know your stories, and what this format does is helps you just pick out the things that are most important, right? So I want you to practice it. Listen, go to the mirror, practice it. Take your phone and literally videotape yourself talking, because guess what? You are your own worst critic, right? And you're going to look at yourself and you're going to be like, okay, well, maybe I look really weird when I say that, or something's going to sound off, and you're going to be like, that's not the right way to say it. That actually doesn't sound right. It has to be in your voice. And you know how sometimes you actually, when you go to create something and you say it out loud and it just sounds ridiculous. Okay, so you do want to make sure that it sounds like you. You want to make sure that it's in your voice. That's going to be really important. That's how you're going to connect with them. Listen, have somebody actually ask you those questions, right? That you would answer. Get their critique as well. There's lots of ways to do this. And here's why that's impactful. When you are comfortable saying something, think about it this way. It's just like riding a bike. When you first get on the bike, you don't know what you're doing. 10 times more as you try, you learn to ride the bike. It's the same thing. The more you say it, the more comfortable it becomes, the more natural it becomes, which is what we want it to be, right? And then the confidence is there when you're actually sitting in the interview having that conversation, and they know they can actually hear that as well. Because here's the other reality, is that people can pick up on confidence. Listen, I've been doing this so long, I can just be on a phone. I don't even have to be on a video call with you or in person, and I can pick up on it. And if you do not show confidence, it's going to put you in the bad light. And we never want to do that. We always want you to be in a positive light. And so that's always really important. It helps with your confidence. Just like driving with the GPS, you drive with confidence because you know where you're going. You're not worried about, taking necessarily that wrong turn, right? Okay, so now so we gave the job description information, right? Okay, so what happens, and this is, I've had questions from clients, and what happens if you don't really have a job description, number one, because that's real. The other thing is, what if it's so vague, it doesn't really give you a lot of information? And that's a really good question. But here's what can happen. If you're networking and you're talking with people, right? And someone says, oh yeah, you talked with someone and they're like, I know someone that you can need to connect with. They're going to connect you with Sam. And you reach out, Sam reaches out, you start a conversation. Listen, you may not even have a job description before that first conversation, right? The other thing I would say is anytime you're introduced to someone, I've had people say, well, Kerry, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a real interview. It seems like we're just going to have a conversation, and that could be. However, I want you to prepare every conversation as if it is a real interview and be prepared to answer questions so that you're not actually caught off guard, so that you're ready, right? So here's the thing. There's 7 areas that almost all employers out there consistently evaluate in interviews. They want to know if people know how to communicate. Can you communicate internally? Can you communicate externally? Can you communicate with my stakeholders, my vendors? And so you can create stories around that. Problem solving. They always want to know, how do you handle problems when they arise? What do you do? Are you calm? They want your demeanor. So they want to know how you handle problems, right? Creating a story around that is going to be very helpful. Motivation and drivers. They want to understand what gets you excited, what makes you want to get up and do what you do every day. Why do you do what you do every day? Your value, the impact. Again, that's you connecting the dots with them, right? And so that's going to be really important. Mistakes and learning. Nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. How do you handle when mistakes happen, right? And then how do you handle the learning on the other side of that, right? Customer and team focus. Are you a team player? Again, if they can envision you as part of their team, that's going to be a very good thing. So they also want to know those things. Are you collaborative? Are you okay with sharing information, right? And so that's another great area. And then, of course, if it's more of a leadership position, how do you develop people? What's your leadership style? They're going to want to understand those areas as well. So if you get stuck and you're like, I don't actually have it, these are some really great categories to make sure that you have stories created to help you. I get this question too. It's actually something I teach in my interview best practice strategy class, is that, listen, it's always going to happen. You may get questions you don't know answers to. Here's the other thing I want. It's another mind shift I want you to think about. When you think about an interview, every single thing that you say in that interview needs to put you in the best light. It needs to be positive. And I don't even care if they're asking you, what are your weaknesses? There's a way to answer that question that is going to turn it into a positive. If they ask you why are you leaving? Why are you looking, for a new opportunity? I want everything that you say to put you in the best light, okay? And to be positive. But here's what happens. So for example, if you do get asked a question, you don't know what to do, okay, in this scenario, maybe it's a methodology or maybe it's a program, and maybe you haven't used that specific program, but maybe you've used something similar. Here's a really great way to say it. And the first thing to do when that happens, because your nerves, like, you can kind of feel your blood pressure moving, right? Here's the first thing to do is stay calm, right? Because they can feel that. And you can even start out and say, that's a really great question. And then you can say something like, I've yet to use that methodology or that program, but I have used this other one, which is similar. 2 sentences, what it is. When I have something new to learn, these are the exact steps I take to get up to speed quickly. So now you're actually talking about when you actually have to learn something new, this is what you do. Tell them very quickly. And then I absolutely love encountering things I haven't learned yet, because that is how we grow. And you can see how turning a question into something you didn't actually know actually turns it back into a positive. So then people will say, well, Kerry, what if I don't actually have any of that experience? Then I want you to go in and say, I haven't, specifically used that. However, and then I want you to go in and explain to them how you learn, the steps that you take to get up to speed, and that there's value there, and that it really does help growth, and you're excited about the opportunity to learn and be able to be that, additional help for the team. So here's the other piece. At the end of an interview, and listen, you're going to ask questions, right? And I know you guys, this seems so general, but I actually have an example for you on this one too. At the end of your conversation, you should always have 3 to 5 questions prepared. And listen, I don't care if you talk to 10 people. Every single person you talk to, you need to have questions ready. And some of those questions may get asked during your conversation, which is great. Also be intentional about the things that you ask, because when you ask questions, it can also help you get insight to more information about what they're looking for, about who the person is, right? So here's just a couple examples that I won't go through all of them. But for example, what do you enjoy most about working here? You can ask every single person that you're talking to that question. This is what this does. Gives you insight to them, who they are as a person, right? Again, finding things to connect with. It might spark something and you might be like, oh yeah, well, I've done something similar, right? Again, that makes you memorable. But you also learn, listen to what they say. Are they pausing? Do they take time to tell you? Listen, if they're excited about where they're working, they're just going to start rambling. They're going to start going, right? Do they hesitate and say, well, think about that, because you are interviewing them too, right? So, take that into consideration, right? Here's another one though. What inefficiency or challenge do you most hope this person will help solve? The insight there is they're going to tell you what they need this person to do. So either in that conversation, you can say, well, I've actually done this, and show them an example of it, right? Which again, shows them why you are the solution. But here's the other thing. As you go throughout the interview process, you've now gained very important information that can help you even be more specific in how you answer questions that can be relevant to them as an organization, okay? Here's what happens. If you miss this piece, and this sounds crazy, it could disqualify you. Here's an example. We were hiring for an account executive. I talked to the person, my VP of sales and marketing talked to this person. We both loved this person. This person gets to my CEO. It was in a startup organization, of course, because my CEO is interviewing salespeople. And got to the CEO, and our CEO asked this person, do you have any questions for me? And his answer was, no, I think Kerry and Austin actually answered all my questions. Okay, so this is what happened, and this is what managers think. This is what this is what the hiring team is going to think. And our CEO said, listen, he's not curious. He didn't ask me any questions. He feels like he knows everything. Oh, which, by the way, there's not possible. I don't care if you have 5 interviews. You do not know everything about the organization. And again, make it specific to your role and what you're supposed to do too, right? That's why that preparation piece is important. That person, he did not get hired. Okay. So that's why this piece is really, really important. And again, it's just part of your process, right? Okay. So the other thing is this. We need to manage our presence as we're having these interviews. There's so many different ways that we can have interviews, right? On the phone, you can talk to people, your video, you can talk with people, right? And it makes a huge difference, okay? And think about it this way. Confidence doesn't mean perfection. It just means being steady, prepared, and intentional in what you're doing. Your body language says a lot about you. Now, I like to talk with my hands, and so some of it's off camera, so not everybody sees that. But here's the thing. Your body talks a lot about you. Listen, if you're a person that your facial features change a lot, like when you have questions, pay attention to that, right? Are you sitting, hunched over? Are you sitting back, right? Are you like this? Are you sitting up? Can they see you, right? It makes a really big difference, and it does exude your presence, which is important. Pay attention to your tone. So what do I mean by that? Think about a podcast, think about a presentation, think about someone that you listen to. Their voice is so monotone, it literally puts you to sleep and you can barely understand what they're saying. Okay, so yes, you need to speak loud enough, right? And have inflection in your voice. When you talk to someone that's monotone like that, it's just like there's no inflection in their voice at all. It's just completely straight, right? So having inflection in your voice just helps you come across better. And listen, I work with and talk with lots of people that are introverts, and these things are not comfortable for them. So how do we do that? I need you to practice. I need you to practice having conversations and videotaping yourself to see how you're reacting and responding. The other thing is your energy. You're like, okay, well, what does that mean? And I'm not talking about energy like off the paper, right? Like going through the room. That's not what I'm talking about. Here's again, I've done this so long too. I can pick up on someone's energy even just on the phone, just like the competence piece, right? Here's why that matters. If someone's interviewing you and you have no energy and you don't actually bring a great presence, they're thinking, well, if this person who's supposed to be listen, because you're supposed to bring the very best version of yourself in an interview, right? If they can't have that level of energy with me in this setting, how are they going to be with my customers? How are they going to be with my internal employees? How are they going to be with my vendors? And so again, it's going to put a negative thought in their mind, and we don't want to do that. It's not going to put you in the best light. So making sure that you have good energy on a call. And again, if it feels odd to you, I would practice it offline to make sure that you can actually do that right. Here's the other thing. This is something that can set you apart. So we talked about finding commonalities with the people that you're talking to, understanding the organization, talking about things that are important to them. That's going to set you apart. Not everybody does that. How many of you guys send thank you notes? Just put me in the chat. Just go ahead and put me in the chat if you actually send thank you notes. Right? And probably most people on this call, because Linda's group, you guys are amazing people. Linda talks about this a lot. And so I'm glad most of you do. Here's the thing. I will tell you, not everyone does this. Not everyone sends a thank you. And this is what happens. If I get a thank you note from someone I interviewed, it goes to the entire hiring team. And I have hiring managers. This is the response I get. The hiring managers come to me and they're like, that, or they email me or whatever, right? They're saying, that is amazing. I love what they actually said, because the hiring manager could be thinking, I think this person could be really good fit. And the one thing that you say in that thank you note could then make them understand and just kind of make them know that they're thinking about the right thing, and that, yeah, this person's really great. And I'm really glad that we're having a conversation with them, or we need to hire them. Okay. I would absolutely do it within 24 hours. Do it the same day if you can. And here's my recommendation here. And Linda kind of talked about this at the beginning of the presentation today. To make it, don't spend, don't make it super long. Be as very articulate as you can. The piece that I want you not to forget is the 1 or 2 sentences. Now, you've already had a conversation with them. You know what they're looking for. You know what they need. And based on your conversation, 2 sentences. I know that you're looking to do A, B, and C, and this is how I can help you by doing X, Y, and Z. Okay, so that also gives you an opportunity to reiterate again and connect again why you are the solution to what they need. And that's going to be really impactful for them. Listen, you can be creative with this. You can do it snail mail. Listen, not everybody does that. It could to really make you stand out. An email is perfectly fine. That's probably the preferred method, but definitely make sure that you do that. That's a really important thing. It will make you stand out, and the hiring managers love it too, right? So here's what this is. So when you actually take the time to prepare, right, and determine exactly the impact that you bring to the organization. And again, using that job description as your roadmap to say, this is what they need this position to do. This is what they need this person to do. And then really trying to tie in what you're talking about with them, being articulate, using a CART strategy, something similar to help you create those stories so that you know that you're talking about the right things, practicing them, making sure that it sounds like you, right? Because again, sometimes when you read something, you say it, you're like, yeah, no, that doesn't sound like me. So certainly make it in your words, right? That's what's going to set you apart. And just like my quick story about my manager that I told him, let me do this, this, and this, and we're going to get there quicker. That's a really impactful message. And it is going to absolutely make a difference in how they see you and your ability to actually show why you are the best fit, and yeah, why you are different than the other 5 people that they're already talking to. Okay, that's really all I had.
Thank you so much, Kerry. That was great. Okay, we've got a couple of questions. Are you willing to take a couple of questions?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think
Okay.
we're here till 10:15. How long do we have, Linda?
About another
10:30?
25 minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. By the way, before we get into that, and there are several questions in the chat.
Okay.
Okay, and if you have a question, please raise your digital hand and we'll try and get to as many of you as we can. But I also want to remind everyone to copy the chat. Now, I'm going to put the chat into our private group later, and I'm going to put the link to the private group in the chat again. But when you copy the chat into yourself, you can then pull lots of additional nuggets out by running it through your own preferred AI to help you analyze what that chat said. It also gives you a way of taking another look to see what's really there and what stood out for you. So make sure that you copy the chat as well as I do. Okay, questions. If you have those questions, please raise your digital hand. I will try and go back through, okay, some of these as well. I'm going to start at the beginning if I can and see if I miss them. Okay. There was one here from Lisa Beth that was early on. Lisa Beth, are you still here?
Yes, I am. Sorry, my camera's not on today. I'm not feeling great.
Oh, I'm sorry. I hope you feel better. But can you
Sorry,
just
not feeling well.
share your question?
Sure, I have to find it. My question was, I actually two. The first one, hold on, I lost it. My question was, hold on, it's all the way up here. If you have a screening interview, what versus an interview, and you don't have the opportunity to offer more than what's asked, what is the best way to kind of address certain questions or other things? You don't have that opportunity. I actually had a screening interview the other day, and the questions were very direct. There was not a lot of room for more commentary.
Yeah, so yeah, no, that's a really good question. And when you say screening question, again, screening interview, I would take all of them serious and be ready to share your expertise. And you're right, there are in some interviews, they don't actually give you a whole lot of time to actually talk. So my recommendation is at the end of that conversation, just say, by the way, I'd like to share just a few pieces about, why I think that I could be a really great fit for you, and be prepared with a couple of those things. And most of the time, just a few minutes, don't take a lot of time, but you can actually say at the end, I'd really just like to share a few pieces of why I'm excited about this position and why I think, I would be a great fit, and then share those articulated pieces for you. But you're right, because they don't always ask, you don't always have the opportunity, to your point.
The other thing that you can do, Lisa Beth, is if you've got the screening, because I've conducted a number of those as well as coach people how to do them. Here's an opportunity in your thank you note.
Yeah.
To add one or two of those additional pieces, very short. Or if there's additional information I can provide you about X, Y, and Z, I'd love to do that in our next conversation.
Okay, and the follow-up to that is, if you bomb your interview because you're nervous or whatever, but you really think you're a great candidate for this, is there a way to correct that without giving a long-winded thank you note, or a way to possibly even request a repeat interview?
So yeah, I mean, and that's going to happen. And I don't actually recommend trying to quote fix it. And I mean, again, if you're doing a follow-up for whatever reason, maybe they hadn't reached out, that might be an opportunity to say something. I don't think that, in my experience, it doesn't put you in the best light. If it's like because what they're thinking is, okay, well, we had our interview and this person's not actually sure about what they said. It actually it doesn't put you in the best light to do that. This is what I would do instead. Instead, think about the fact, okay, if you feel like you actually bombed it, think about what it was you thought you missed, okay? And then maybe go back and rehome that skill or that question to help you be better in the next one. And that's just kind of been my experience. It doesn't really put you in the best light to try to fix it. Unless, again, if you send a thank you note, you could reiterate something. Don't do a long one again, keep it articulate. So that's just kind of my recommendation.
Okay, I'm going to chime in there real quick.
Thank you.
Yep, Linda, yep.
Yeah, so here are a couple of other things you can do. Do not ask for a re-interview.
Yeah.
That absolutely will turn people off.
Yep.
Okay, what I would do instead is in your thank you note, the same way that in your thank you note, if you did a great job, you're going to reiterate one of the things or two of the things that really make you fit. Do that now as if you had said it in the interview.
Yes.
So
Agreed.
in the interview, a sentence or two about how you fit in this particular case, whether you said it during the interview or not, is much stronger than saying, oops, I goofed. And I've seen that absolutely work. Because people will your thank you is going to be top of mind.
Right. Good
So that-
questions.
Okay. Does that help, Lisa
And
Beth?
I have to say, so I saw here in the chat, so this is really
Yes,
great. It
thank
said,
you.
Kate said, Kerry, best follow-up thank you was sending a baseball. And on the partner stationery, they were looking to develop, send a note, let me show you how I can hit a home run with Cisco. Okay, that is absolutely brilliant. I mean, okay, talk about memorable. Yes, I would see that. And that's incredibly creative. I love that. And definitely sets you apart. So that's pretty cool. Like that. Great. Thanks for sharing
It
that.
got me the job. It was between three of us, and I blew everybody away. They still talk about it to this day, and it's baseball season, so I throw that out there. So if you're down in the weeds and you gotta make yourself stand out, it really is a great way to go, especially if they like baseball.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Great
I
idea.
love that. And
Okay.
being creative, and again, that made you memorable, and you got the job.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, go ahead, Linda.
I was going to say there's one more here. One question was, will we get the slide deck? Can you share that so that we can share
Yeah,
it?
so what I can do, I will send Linda a PDF. Linda, I can send you a PDF and then you can post it in your group. How about that?
Perfect. Absolutely. That's great. Okay. Somebody else just had a hand up and I'm sorry I missed you. You still here? There we go. So, Kate, you got a question. Unmute.
Since we're dealing with 24, 48-hour turnaround and thank yous are probably going out on email, do you have some suggested best subject line content? Should you do all caps? How do you make that memorable to see that you responded? And we know most people aren't going to actually open that email in 24, 48 hours, but just suggestions on how you would phrase that in the digital world now.
Yeah, and I wouldn't make it caps because caps, you're right, because caps can kind of feel like there's like you're shouting. I mean, it's just the way that people perceive it. It's not really great, right? You could just say something really simple like, thank you for a great conversation. And I'm excited, about this opportunity. Or you could say something like, really to thank them, right? So that they know that it's a thank you note. It's kind of a way to do it. Again, make it positive, make it short. You could even, put in your words and use AI to help you come up with something kind of catchy if you wanted, but make it really about them and you're excited about the opportunity. You're excited about the next steps. Thank you for a great conversation. I'm excited about next steps. That's it.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be long.
It just has to be there on time. It literally is the 24, 48 hour.
It really is.
Thing.
It really is. And to your point, even if they don't read it in that quick of a time frame, it's noted, okay, and they can see it. And the fact that you responded is going to make all the difference for them. And so that really is important. Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those baseballs I drove around and handed off the box to like the HR person, the CEO, like somebody else that was a hiring manager.
That's amazing.
Literally delivered it, but it does work, especially if they like baseball.
Yep.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing. It was great.
Mitch, your question.
Yes, Kerry, it was a great presentation, by the way. I got a lot out of it. I just wanted to ask you, I had an HR screening on Monday with a company, and the HR person said that give me a couple days because I have to send my notes to the hiring manager, and it's up to him to tell me to schedule the video interview with him. Do you think it's appropriate if I don't hear by Friday to reach out to the HR person?
Yeah, so here's kind of how I would do this, and this is a really good question. If they tell you a specific time frame, so if they say, give me a couple days, as soon as those couple days have passed, then I believe it's okay to do a follow-up. Now, sometimes, again, if you guys are in an interview, I would actually be one of my very last questions I would ask. I would always say, what is the hiring process? So you do know. But if for some reason you don't know and they didn't say anything about a specific time frame, a good rule of thumb is, within a week, it's okay to follow up with people. But yes, if you don't hear from them, if they said 2 days, day 3, wait one more day, give them a little bit of grace, right? If they wait one more day, and then I think it's completely appropriate to follow up because they literally did say that to you. And so that's totally fine to do it at that point.
Thanks, Kerry.
Mitch,
You're
just so
welcome.
that you know, next week we're actually talking about follow-ups at Lunch and Learn. So those are some of the questions we're going to be asking or answering. But one of the things that I would recommend is when you reach out, it's not, you said you were going to get back to me by Friday, where are we? It's, I'm
No.
looking forward to the next conversation. I know you'd like to move quickly. Here's my availability for the next week. The best way to reach me is. It's that positive note rather than putting any blame on them.
I will. Thank you.
Absolutely. And again, as I mentioned, I want you to reframe your entire thinking about an interview. It is about them. It should, everything you say, every interaction, everything that you do should be positive. There should never be anything negative in there. Because again, anytime that you make them pause in any way, whatever that is not going to put you in the best light, and it could cause you to lose the opportunity. And I actually see another question here too. Someone asked, is it okay to take notes during an interview? And yes, it absolutely is. And especially, okay, if you're on video, right? I mean, they would never necessarily even see you taking notes, but even if I'm in person, take a binder with you and you can just say, is it okay if I take a few notes as we have a conversation? No one's going to have a problem with that. And yeah, it's okay to do that.
Absolutely. And you may want to just ask them, especially, tell them so that it doesn't look like you are avoiding the screen, for example, or
Exactly.
you're writing them in person, but you're not taking down sentences. You're writing a word or two as a reminder.
Yes, just to help you understand the conversation. And again, if they're saying things that you want to use in potentially next interviews or something that you can talk to specifically, yeah, like Linda said, it's not full sentences. You're just quickly jotting down your thoughts about what's being said, right? Or maybe it's a detail that you want to remember that they're talking about.
Mhm. Judy. No, yeah,
Jody, me?
Jody, sorry. Mhm.
No worries. Thank you. Very helpful, Kerry. Appreciate your insights and perspective. I've been coached in a number of other forums I'm part of that while the thank you note should be no more than a page, we should be adding carts for elements of the job that were not discussed. I just had a job interview yesterday. We did not go over all the requirements. We talked about a couple, and when I asked her for the priorities, one of the requirements we didn't even talk about. So I've been coached that I would, I recognize that XYZ is a very important part of this role, and to give the example of what I've done and what I bring in that area, since it really wasn't addressed. It's in a resume, but I would want to highlight that because in some cases they've moved beyond the resume. Do you discourage that? I know everyone has opinions about these things, but that was something I have not yet written the thank you note, and I was going to include that.
Yeah, and I would think even smaller from a thank you note perspective, because here's the thing, it is something that they're going to potentially read, but they're also super crazy busy in what they're doing. And so as articulate as you can be, here's the other thing. Yeah, and I think that you follow, and I'm sure there's lots of great people out there that have lots of great advice, but here's what I would say. Make it articulate about the experience you did have with them, right? And actually, for me, the most important thing you can do in that is thank them for their time, reiterate how interested you are in the opportunity and why you believe that you are the best fit for that role. And then actually including those 2 sentences, as I mentioned, in actually saying how you can help them meet what they're looking for. That's actually going to be more valuable, because here's the thing, if you get into other interviews, those other pieces could potentially be reviewed as well. I don't know that I would actually, think about, what is it? Is that going to confuse them that you're trying to give them information about something you didn't talk about? My recommendation is to keep it short, keep it articulate, and actually more about the conversation you had, because that's going to resonate with them, and then share the pieces as to why you're the best fit and to connect the dots for them in that. So that would be my recommendation.
Great.
And that's
Thank
mine
you
as
for
well.
that. Appreciate it.
And a page is much too long. You're really talking about no more than a half a page. You want it, if you can, to get it on one screen, because that's where they're going to read it.
Yep, they don't actually have to scroll in their email to read it. You know, that's going to help you get your message. And again, remember, pick on the things that make you the best fit for the role and why do you want what just the things that are actually going to set you apart and show that you are a fit. That's more important than actually trying to talk about something that you didn't even have a conversation about. So that's how I would look at it.
I agree. Both from both sides of the desk. Absolutely.
Good question, Jody. Really good question.
Anybody else? I think I've gotten most of them from the chat. If I missed something, raise your, go ahead.
So there's one in here. So somebody said, how do we get the emails from HR? So yeah, absolutely. So if you're talking to the recruiter, which is typically how these start, right? You obviously have their information. So, but when if you're on a video call, you can ask them, can I get your email? I'd love to send a thank you note. Most people are open to doing that. And that's because that'll be the best way to do it, right? Is to actually just have them give it to you. If you're, and the recruitment team, they may be able to provide it as well. So there's a couple different ways that you can do that, but it's okay to ask them and they'll know that you want to send a thank you.
The other thing is make sure that if you can, you're sending a separate thank you, slightly different to each individual that you've been speaking with, because that really does make a difference. If they're not willing to share their email address, if you have the email address for one, you know what the format is. You can also just call the main number and say, by the way, I've been trying to send an email and it keeps bouncing back to such and such. They asked for some follow-up information. Here's the email address I've been trying. Can you please give me the proper format? Main numbers, if you give them that information, they're looking for that follow-up information after our conversation this morning at such and such a time. They know you're not just spammer, okay? You're more likely to get it, but you can try. Belle.
Hi, I
Yeah,
wanted
and
to share.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was
just
just going to say that I agree with Linda that if if you have a few people that you talk to, it should be a little bit different. Again, it's make it about that person. The other thing we know about people is they like to talk about themselves. That make those things that make you memorable is because you've connected with them. And so absolutely make it specific to that conversation. It should be a little bit different.
And I will tell you from the hiring side of things that
yes,
if you are in conversation, often those hiring teams will talk to one another and they talk about that comparison.
They will.
Okay, so that's one of the reasons not to just copy and paste. Sorry, go ahead, Belle.
No problem. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm never sure with my sound. I just want to share a quick story. I love the baseball story. I absolutely love that. And it reminded me of, I've interviewed like thousands of people over 25 years. And there was one that still stands out in my mind that I always smile when I think about it. I had interviewed a customer service candidate. And, it was kind of like every other interview, blah, 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 same answers, same questions. But later in the day, the same day, she went to Dunkin' Donuts and brought back 24 donuts for the HR department, which is actually just me and my assistant. But I was so impressed by that. She didn't get the job, but I really thought I've been thinking about her ever since then. But it made a great impression on me. This woman really wanted the job and she went the extra mile. So I totally agree with the baseball lady. That's a great story. And I'm thinking about doing something like that when I don't know if it's going to be a baseball, maybe a hockey stick. I really love hockey.
Could be anything, right?
It could be anything, yeah. But thank you for that story, Kate.
Okay, here's another way that you can do it, because it gets very expensive and you can't always drop something off at somebody's houses. You can, however, and I wouldn't do it every time, but you might send them a $5 gift card to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. Okay.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Let's have a cup of coffee on me. You can do that for networking.
Thank you for your time.
Too. So that helps. All right, Kate.
I love that. Thanks for sharing, Belle.
Okay, I have a quick question. I'm assuming this has happened where you may or may not get direct email and you may or may not know if your communication on email is getting to its intended target. I'm assuming once you've made individual contact in an interview or something at a deeper level, you wouldn't use the LinkedIn platform for a thank you note, or would you?
You might. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kerry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. No, I agree with you, Linda. I think that you possibly could. Yeah, especially if you're saying like if you don't actually have an email, right? And if you're connected with them on LinkedIn, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I think it could be another way to reach out. You'll know that it's going to the right person at that point, right? Linda,
All
what were
right.
you going to say?
I was going to say exactly the same thing. So email is the preferred.
Correct.
All right. And
But
then
if you
with
can't
that,
do the email, or if you want to do a follow-up on LinkedIn, after you've done that email to the whatever,
yeah.
you can still send another message to them. You know, thanks for a great conversation. I'm looking forward to the next time we talk.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that I'm planning. And I'm going to a pretty heavy duty networking meeting at 7:30 tomorrow morning. And I know how these things go. I'm assuming it's probably going to be LinkedIn all the way around on follow-up and or thank you.
Yes.
That kind of thing. All right. Thank you.
Well, and
You're
then
welcome.
Kate, make sure that you go into your mobile phone on your LinkedIn profile. You go into your LinkedIn on mobile, and you can download your QR code to your LinkedIn. So as you're networking, all they have to do is scan that little QR code on your phone,
Right.
so that they can then just have your information quickly. Have you done that?
We had such good coaching on that, and I am aware
good.
of that. But I am in the woeful, like, holy crap, you've got a lot of things to update on LinkedIn. But yes, I 100% agree. And that would be a great goal for me to have by 7:30 tomorrow morning. So I'm
It
on
takes
it.
2 seconds. It's going to take you 1 minute. And in fact, I have instructions on how to do it. I can send it to Linda.
Oh.
She can put it in the group.
Yep.
Oh,
Okay. Does that
fantastic.
help?
Right. We've done that on a couple of these sessions, and I may be in the private group as well, but Kerry, absolutely, please do.
I'll
All
send
right.
it when I send the presentation. Okay, Linda, I'll just send it quick and you guys can have it in your group.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
That
the other
is
thing, go ahead, Kate.
awesome. That's great. That's fantastic. I wish someone had recommended me not to go to Supercuts before my network meeting at 7:30.
I like it. I was going to tell you I like your haircut.
It was down to here. I said just trim the broken ends, and I got the FYI. If you walk into a Supercuts and it's all teenage boys, walk out, because I don't know what to do with this. But I look like a page boy from some revolutionary time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks for the great question. Any others? Did we get them all, Linda?
I think we did.
Okay, great. There was lots of great questions. Thanks you guys
There
for
were.
asking, and really good information.
So thank you all for joining us today. Kerry, this was a fantastic presentation. We all learned so much, and the fact that you're going to be willing to share the slides and you've put your information in the chat, make sure you do connect with Kerry if you haven't already done so. Download the chat. Remember, there are 2 ways to do it. You can go to the top of the chat where it says Career Search Lunch and Learn, go to the 3 dots, click on those, and it'll say Save Chat. The other thing you can do is click anywhere in the chat itself and click Control, select all, and then copy, and then put it into a Word doc, which is usually what I do, because that way it saves the active links. Otherwise, it saves it in a text file, which may or may not remain active. But I will add it to our private group, hopefully later this afternoon. In the meantime, I'm going to turn off the recordings. And turn off this one.